Here's a detailed guide on how to leverage podcast audiences for effective music promotion. 1. Offer giveaways to engage podcast listeners. Exclusive music downloads. Offer free or discounted downloads of your singles or albums to podcast listeners. Share a special link or code during the podcast to make it feel exclusive. Ticket giveaways. Partner with podcast hosts to give away concert or event tickets to listeners. This can increase engagement and attract new fans who are motivated by the chance to win. Merchandise contests. Run contests for podcast listeners where they can win band merchandise like t-shirts, hats, or posters by following your social media accounts or streaming your music. 2. Utilize cross-promotions with podcast hosts. Collaborative episodes. Work with podcast hosts to create episodes that feature both your music and their content, blending your audiences and encouraging cross-following. Shoutouts and mentions. Coordinate with podcast hosts to mention your upcoming projects or concerts during their episodes. In return, you can promote their podcast on your social media channels or at your shows. Interview swaps. If you have your own podcast, invite the host of another show to be a guest and reciprocate by appearing on theirs. This strategy expands both parties' reach. 3. Release exclusive content for podcast listeners. Special tracks. Release an acoustic version, live performance, or unreleased song specifically for podcast listeners. Mention where they can access it during your appearance and provide a link in the episode description. Behind-the-scenes content. Share stories or insights about the creation of your songs that you don't reveal elsewhere. This adds value and incentivizes podcast audiences to tune in. Early access. Offer podcast listeners early access to your new releases or sneak peeks of upcoming tracks. This can help build anticipation and loyalty among listeners. 4. Engage with the podcast community. Social media interaction. After your podcast appearance, engage with the podcast's audience by responding to comments and participating in discussions on social media. This creates a personal connection and encourages new followers. Listener Q&A. Collaborate with the podcast host to gather questions from their audience in advance and answer them during your appearance or in a follow-up post. This interactive approach boosts listener interest and engagement. Podcast forums and groups. Join the podcast community spaces, such as Facebook groups or Discord channels, to interact directly with listeners and share updates about your music. 5. Create special podcast promotions. Limited time offers. Provide podcast listeners with a special promotion, such as a limited time offer on concert tickets, digital albums, or exclusive content bundles. Exclusive discounts. Partner with the podcast host to create a discount code for your merchandise or music downloads, encouraging listeners to make purchases. Collaborative playlists. Curate a playlist featuring your music alongside tracks discussed in the podcast episode. This can drive new listeners to your music while adding value to the podcast experience. 6. Use podcast appearances as a marketing launchpad. Announce releases. Use your podcast appearance to announce new singles, albums, or projects, and direct listeners to pre-save or pre-order links. Highlight tour dates. Promote your tour or live performances during the podcast, and provide specific dates and locations. Mention how listeners can get tickets and any special VIP experiences. Call to action, CTA. Conclude your appearance with a clear CTA, such as follow me on platform for more exclusive content, or visit link to download my new song for free. 7. Create follow-up content clips and snippets. Share clips from your podcast interview on your social media channels to highlight key moments and direct followers to listen to the full episode. Recap posts. Write a blog post or social media recap about your podcast experience, summarizing what was discussed and inviting your audience to listen. Interactive stories. Post Instagram or Facebook stories featuring audio snippets with captions and a swipe-up link, if available, to the full podcast episode. Benefits of leveraging podcast audiences for music promotion: expands your reach. Podcasts have dedicated and niche audiences, allowing you to reach potential fans who may not find you through traditional music channels, creates authentic connections. Podcast listeners are often loyal and engaged, making it easier to build genuine connections that translate into long-term fans. Boosts engagement. Offering exclusive content and giveaways encourages interaction, making listeners more likely to follow you on social media and stream your music. Enhances brand credibility. Being featured on reputable podcasts builds your credibility as an artist and increases your visibility within the industry. Drives immediate action. CTAs during podcasts can lead to instant actions like streaming your music, following you on social media, or attending your events. By offering giveaways, engaging in cross-promotions, releasing exclusive content, and creating interactive promotions, you can effectively leverage podcast audiences to expand your music's reach and foster deeper connections with potential fans.